Hey everyone, Imperatus here. Going to be talking some good retro gaming today with some really good people. Uh, I'm going to start bringing in my panel. So far, only one of them's here. I'm still waiting on a couple, but didn't want to keep you guys in the chat waiting. So here's my first guest, longtime friend of mine. Known him about 35 years. One of my partners in crime when it comes to gaming is another geek-related hobbies. This is my good friend Angelo from Toy Games. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Brody?
So, why don't you tell the people in the chat a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Oh, my channel is just tips and tricks for modding and customizing toys and action figures, and occasionally I'll do reviews if I just don't want to do a review just to do it. I do a review if I feel like you need to know about this figure or if it's a toy that you really should gain. And so my uploads are not that consistent because I'm not just going to upload just to upload, but it's mainly toy related.
Right on. And back to you. Pope Metallica is another one of my partners in crime, both streaming and gaming. We've been playing a bunch of MechWarrior 5 lately. Check out his channel. Does some really good freaking music related content. So while we're waiting for the rest of the people on the panel, what would you say is one of your first memories when it comes to video games?
My first or I have a first.
We'll go with first, and then we can go with favorite as well.
So my first is we're in I think Zaire with the family, the old man and my mother, and my dad was like a big kid at that time, and he sees this thing and he's like, it's called an Atari, and it was new, and I'm like, Dad, what the heck is this thing? And he's like, I don't know, it's a machine, we're gonna hook it up to the TV, we'll find out. And that was it, man. We hooked up this, it was like magic. We hooked up this device and we're now manipulating, like we're playing combat. And like the day before we were watching like the Jeffersons. So it's just like, it blew my mind. And that's definitely, maybe there's something before that, but that's my first memory.
Yeah, for me, it's hard for me to remember whether it was actually playing something in an arcade.
Sure.
Or playing an Atari at my grandmother's house. Because as a kid, I didn't have an Atari. I had a ColecoVision, but we didn't get that until after I'd already started playing video games.
Right.
I can remember, too, when the mall here opened way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out to dinner with some of my parents' friends. I think we went to, like, Ground Round. That's how far, talk about going back.
Yeah, they always had a good arcade cabinet there. And
they didn't at the time.
Oh.
But I wanted to go into the arcade when we were done eating. But by the time we were done eating, the mall was closing in like 7 minutes, and I didn't get to. And that still kind of stands out for some reason. So we did first. What would you say your favorite is?
My favorite was the first I saw Super Mario Brothers in a place called Broadway News in Newburgh. Yep. Little store to buy cigarettes and play lotto, and I see a bunch of older kids huddled around a machine, and I like weasel my way in, and I see, games at that time, it was always just about high scores like Asteroids and Pac-Man. So to see a character like move to another like whole area, and they told me that the game could be beat. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean the game could be beat? And I remember rushing home on my bike, getting a bunch of quarters and just wait. You had to wait for like 2 hours to play that game. And that was like another magical moment because that was the first time I played a game where it wasn't just about beating the score. And I'll never forget that. And then, of course, eventually Nintendo came home.
Yeah. I mean, for my favorite, for me, was definitely a little later than that, but it was when I got my NES.
Of course. I mean, of course.
And actually being able to sit down and play Zelda as much or as little as I wanted instead of like hanging out with friends and them not wanting to play it or whatever, having to deal with someone else's save game. Or
do you remember how awkward it was to put the quarters up and like
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's my quarter. I'm the third one, and
Mm-hmm.
like the confusion and awkwardness and like,
Oh yeah, I remember when that became really chaotic with fighting games. People
oh
would
my
put their
god,
quarters up to get next, or next fight or whatever.
yeah,
But I mean, in some ways, it's kind of sad that certain aspects of gaming have just gone away.
hmm
That some people will never experience certain things, and it's not even the state of tech.
right,
Like arcades don't really exist in the form that they used to.
no, no,
And I have so many good memories of me and my buddy Rob going to the arcade,
hmm
and just spending way too much money on shit like Mortal Kombat 2 or Street
hmm
Fighter 2 or Killer Instinct, and then going back to his place or another friend's house and playing the home version. I
yeah,
mean, think about how long of a period of time it was when you could actually turn around and say, "Oh wow, it's almost arcade perfect."
yeah. I think the first game that felt arcade perfect for me was Gauntlet, and then when I finally got to play Gauntlet, because you would die instantly in that game in the arcade. And when I finally got a chance to really play it, I'm like, this game kind of sucks.
Well, yeah, it's repetitive,
Yeah, it's just like, this is the
but
game I wasted so much money on in the arcade.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of thankful in the fact that I didn't own a lot of NES games. I did a
Mm,
lot of renting.
yeah.
So, and I rented some winners, watching some of the AVGN videos. I was like, oh
Oh, you
God, I
rented that.
rented. It's like, oh, I rented that. Oh,
Yes.
Jesus.
And you rent the game and then you lie to yourself and tell yourself it's good.
Yeah.
Or your friend comes over and you're like, oh, like, what did you rent? How is it? And you don't want to admit you rented like a terrible game.
I mean, at least when I first started renting NES games, it was only for a night,
Yeah.
when it first started. So it wasn't like you rented something, you're like, well, I guess that's what I'm stuck doing all weekend.
Yeah.
I can also remember the two first NES games I rented. I don't remember what order they were,
Yeah.
but it was the first Castlevania
That's a good one.
and Zelda 2.
Those are two good ones.
Because I was just, at the time, I was just fascinated with Zelda 2
Of course.
because it was such a drastic change from the first one. And I didn't even really, the difficulty didn't even, you know,
Set in, phase
yeah,
you.
it didn't really set in
Yeah.
because I, at the time, I didn't really think about difficulty in video games.
Right.
There were
I
there
know.
were certain games that were just considered hard,
I
like
know.
Ghosts and Goblins. Everybody considered that game hard.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though. It was never like something that you wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't think I've ever questioned difficulty. It was just whether or not I liked the game or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got Deadly Towers because the cover, the guy looked like Conan, and that's a difficult game, but it also sucks. You know
Yes,
what I
a
mean? So
buddy of
it's
mine
like,
back in the day had that.
yeah. So it was just like, I'm not playing this game. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was hard. Or Ninja Gaiden was hard, but you pressed on. It was because it was so good.
Christian, yes, both of us have
Oh
for
man,
sure.
not only have I played it, I'm probably one of the at the time I liked it so much better than the PlayStation 1, the N64, just because I still had friends that would come over and had 4-player co-op, and I thought GoldenEye and was just the best game ever, and Mario 64. So I didn't care what PlayStation you put out. I was a N64 guy.
And we have another member of the panel. Let me bring him in. Pablo, what's going on, buddy?
Howdy ho!
What's shaking, my man?
Hey, what's up, brother? Sorry about the delay, but I was helping with something. But
Not a problem, not a problem. Pablo, this is my buddy Angelo Pablo.
hey,
Pablo,
nice to meet you.
you as well.
So we were just talking about, just kind of randomly shooting this shit here.
Yeah, someone asked if we played the N64, which I love the N64.
Oh man, the N64. I still remember the first time that I even saw the graphics on the N64.
hmm
Uh, yeah, my neighbor had it for a couple of weeks, and he invited me to play. Uh, and I just saw Super Mario 64
Yeah,
on the screen, and my brain could not process it.
Yes. Did
It
you
was
pull
just
on Mario's nose and all that stuff? Remember, you could do that in like the demo.
yeah in the title screen, but also you were walking on a three-dimensional space and you could watch everything
Yeah,
and get into the tree and climb the tree, and it was mind-blowing.
it
I
really
think,
was.
yeah, for kids nowadays it should be even just uh lame, but
Yeah.
in that moment it was revolutionary because you didn't have anything like that.
No. Nope.
Man, that was a good time.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
And Nintendo also handled 3D a lot better than Sony did at the time
it
Yeah.
did.
because they weren't trying to layer layers of layers and layers
Nope.
of textures on the polygons. I mean, because if you go and if you look at, for example, the first Silent Hill, which don't get me wrong, is an amazing horror game,
Hmm.
especially for the time, but you'll literally see walls breathing and textures buckling
Oh yeah.
because they tried layering so much shit on there.
Hmm.
I mean, they were
Yeah.
smart though. They also played within the console's limitations. That fog effect was not intentional at first.
Yeah, it
Ah,
was all on those silicon graphics chips. Those were just magic, man. The PS1 didn't have something as powerful, something as innovative. So they were just trying to make algorithmic 3D.
yeah.
And that, to be honest, I have been doing that on web pages for a long time. Is just a headache. If you can go directly to the GPU and run it in a really crazy way, uh, is perfect. It just works. But if you are depending on even the bandwidth from the CPU and the memory, sometimes you will have, without getting too technical, the processor has a number of processes that can do at the same time. So it needs to stop one to do the other one and then jump back to whatever it was doing before and everything. So you get that scaling that is really weird
Yeah.
on the PS1.
Yeah.
Is yeah, it's not the best option, but it was what Sony had at the time.
That's why like the pre-rendered stuff still holds up, like Final Fantasy VII.
Uh,
You know,
no, because I picked up, and you know this because we game share on the Xbox, that Onimusha remaster.
yeah.
The
You know,
backgrounds look fucking terrible
Oh,
well,
nowadays, yeah.
yeah,
because they're pre-rendered. It's the same thing, like at least with the Final Fantasy VII, not the current remaster, but
Mhm.
the upscale that they did.
yeah,
They at least made an attempt to clean up the backgrounds a little bit, and they're not completely pixelated messes.
right.
No, I think the best pre-render backgrounds were on Resident Evil and on Dino
Yes,
Crisis.
yes.
Yeah.
Resident Evil was the reason why I just finally had to give in and get the PlayStation.
I remember playing that when it first came out, and nobody knew what the whole story about the game was.
Uh-huh.
Nobody knew that it was, Umbrella Corporation. So at the time, I can remember when it got, when people started beating the game and info started coming out that it was a corporation behind everything. I went, oh, really?
Mhm.
It was almost ruined a little bit
Yeah.
for me. I was hoping to be some sort of like big Lovecraftian
Yeah,
abomination in the basement or something.
Well, hindsight, now you are on 2022, and that kind of makes a lot of sense.
Well,
yeah.
yeah.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, I can see that
Uh,
actually happening.
yeah, yesterday I went to see Jurassic World Dominion.
Uh-huh.
The bad guys are this mix between Monsanto, Apple, and Pfizer.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just crazy because the bad guy, the main bad guy, is literally Tim Cook. Same glasses, same clothing, everything, and I was like, "God damn, this feels too real." And it has
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
Right. I came here to get away from the real world.
And
Yeah.
Pablo, you mentioned Dino Crisis. That's an underrated game.
Oh, it's a beautiful game, man.
I think even the one on Xbox is underrated.
The one in space.
Yeah, I love it. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Uh, it's so,
Considering how long I've known you and how much gaming we've done, I am not surprised you like that game.
I love it. It's so out there.
The wackier, the better for
Yeah.
you sometimes.
Yeah. Plus, the jetpack is cool.
hmm
I mean, even the original Xbox had some great classic stuff.
Absolutely.
You
That's
know,
why I've
and-
gotten every system ever.
Yeah.
I've not missed a system. There's always a few games that are must plays.
Well, speaking of Xbox, I got something to talk to you about when we're done here.
There wasn't emulation back then, so you had to get
There was. There absolutely was. Because
Yeah, it
when I,
was just lame.
Yeah.
For the
yeah,
GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 era, the
Mhm.
only one that Dreamcast, let's count it there because it's same generation. The only one that had a really good emulator was the PS2, and the
Mm.
PS2 it was because it was just so simple on
well, they had
the
the chips from the
infrastructure.
PS1
Yeah,
inside the console.
so basically you could just play games.
Right.
But on the Xbox, it was supposed to be a PC hardware, but it will not be perfectly replicable. Well, depend on the kind of emulation. Type 1, maybe type 2, you needed a lot of extra steps. So,
My OG Xbox was modded wide open,
ooh,
and
nice.
I ran emulators on it. It ran everything up to PS1 fine, like
My
to the
GameCube
point of
was cheaped.
perfect. It didn't do GameCube. It didn't do anything of its own current gen. Had a little bit of difficulty with N64,
Mhm.
but even PCs still do in this day and age. Even in this day and age, when it comes to emulation for the N64. But yeah, it ran everything great. I remember me and a buddy of mine, we'd get together and hang out, and if we weren't playing the emulators on my Xbox, we were either playing Mario Kart on the GameCube or one of the Time Splitters games.
Mm.
Ooh, time for the GameCube Time Splitters. I think it was Future Perfect, the one I had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where you can be a monkey or
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
a
was Future
schoolgirl.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
great
yeah, the
couch co-op
multiplayer.
shooter.
Yeah, it was amazing as a co-op. I had a friend that used to come to my house just to play that game.
Right.
Maybe we will change to a Smash for a few rounds, but then we were back to Time Splitter, and we never finished it
Me and my
because
buddy,
every
we
single
never did the campaign co-op. We just did the split screen multiplayer.
yeah, we were doing the co-op, but most of the time we will be just split screen trying to kill each other, and the artificial intelligence on that game is really underrated.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, it really was. It
Yeah.
was absolutely,
Ahead of its
in
time.
many ways, almost a spiritual successor to GoldenEye
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Perfect Dark.
I always thought it was made by the team back in the day. It's GoldenEye. Always.
I think it kind of some of it was.
Yeah. Some of the people from Rare moved
Yeah.
over.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
GoldenEye,
GoldenEye,
it's getting a remaster released like this week or next week. Supposedly.
is it coming out that soon?
That's the rumor. No.
Hopefully,
Really?
Yeah.
it does. Hopefully, we can have some fun with that multiplayer.
I know. I mean,
'Cause,
finally to play that without worrying about someone looking at your screen. is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
amazing.
I mean,
that was part of the fun.
Listen, it is part of the fun. Catching your friend cheating and then getting revenge absolutely was part of the fun.
yeah. Well, then you had my buddy who would turn around and kind of do that, kind of look at the other person's part of the screen. Go like, okay, so that's where a spawn point is. Next thing you know, he's got that whole area loaded down with proximity mines.
Yeah.
You just spawn in and die.
And then we play where no one could be Odd Job because he was so cheesy.
I was like, the same guy in Perfect Dark always played the alien skin
Was
because it
he
was
cheesy?
small. Because it was smaller.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Because you had to actually have to aim down instead of being able to just aim straight ahead. So you weren't thinking about that in a firefight.
No.
but there was some cheesiness on the hitboxes, so you could actually mess around with that.
Hmm. So, what do you guys think of this game? I didn't play it all that much. I never really was a big fan of like GTA and the other various, style games like that. So I never really cared about Mafia or The Godfather. Any thoughts on the OG Xbox game Scarface?
I loved it.
No.
It's underrated. It's a good it is a must play. The Scarface
Okay,
game.
I should play it.
You it has a little bit of what Saints Row did before Saints Row did it, where you could like build your little empire, and plus using the chainsaw is just awesome. Uh, it is fun. It is underrated. Uh, check it out. It is really fun. I mean, you're Tony Montana. I mean, running around the streets with a chainsaw is
Can't
wild.
really go wrong with that.
And
I guess.
he says some. The actor is so bad that plays Montana, and he says some crazy shit. It's really just for
Say
that
hello
alone.
to my little chainsaw.
Yeah, it's so weird, man. It's like there's some unintentional comedy in it.
So, what would you guys say is an underrated franchise in gaming,
Franchise.
or even individual game?
Um,
Hmm.
this gen or any gen?
Any gen, any gen,
Uh,
and then we'll circle back and hit this gen.
Okay, well I'll go NES first. I can
Actually, why
never.
don't we just go through the generations?
Oh, that's a good. All right.
That's a little bit
Okay.
of a better idea.
There's a game called Fax Onadu.
Yes.
It's like Zelda 2, but you can. The first game I ever played where I farmed. Like I spent 2 hours in like a cave beating bats to level up and like made some of the game easier, but it felt like I was doing something to progress. It's the first time in a game that I felt like what I did had a means and an end.
Yeah, I that was a game I remember playing back in the day. My big gripe then, and still is now, is the color palette.
It's very odd. It's like you're playing on a calculator.
And it's like greens and
It's
browns.
that
and
part. That part I do not
sepia.
like. Yeah, I mean,
But no, that was actually a solid action RPG from the
Yeah.
NES for sure.
yeah.
Pablo.
We will be on the Nintendo era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say maybe Milk and Nuts or Mimi and the Mites. Those were two really crazy good games that nobody paid attention to. Milk and Nuts was uh, basically you were this blob that went up and down the stairs trying to rescue your girlfriend. Was something like Donkey Kong Jr. mixed with the
Awesome.
original Donkey Kong.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was, and for that matter, the Popeye game for on that time was
Mm.
also really, really good. Circus Charlie.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, people didn't pay them attention, and that's why they died. But that kind of gameplay I used to love. Circus Charlie was just uh, literally jumping the hoops, and it was fun. It was just a really fun game to disconnect the brain and play.
Yes, it's right.
So for me, I would have to say one of the underrated gems of the NES library would have been Crystalis.
Okay.
Nice.
Overhead Zelda style action RPG made by SNK, who later gave us, the Neo Geo. But at the time, they were behind Akari Warriors and a few other hidden odds and ends in the arcade and on the consoles. It was quite good. Did a nice little blend of sci-fi and fantasy
Nice.
that Final Fantasy would kind of co-op later on. A couple of years late, year or two later after that had come out.
Mhm.
So, but they did it well. It was kind of, the world itself was overall a fantasy world that was at one point high tech.
Right.
So you got, some of the dungeons and stuff were kind of high tech looking, and others were more your standard dungeon crawling fare.
I didn't play that until it was a Game Boy Color launch title, and I was so pumped.
They
was like,
put that on Game Boy Color.
It was a launch title. For the
Was
Game
it just
Boy
a
Color.
port, or was it a whole new game?
Yeah, just a port, but they cleaned up something, or they made something more accessible to make it kind of the definitive version,
Mhm.
so to speak. And it is fun. It is great.
It's a great little, there's a couple other ones too, like Guardian Legend.
Hmm.
That's underrated in my opinion. What was the other one? I mean, I was a big fan of Battle of Olympus, but I can understand why that was underrated.
Yeah.
People on that time that were on consoles missed on a few PC games that were really, really good, and I mean like Monkey Island.
Yeah.
I know I was
That's
doing some PC gaming at the time too. I pretty much grew up with a ColecoVision and a Commodore 64,
awesome.
and then went to an NES and a Commodore 64 until we got a PC when the
Hmm.
Commodore 64 finally, decided it was going to die.
I got one for the PS2 and Xbox.
There is.
What's going
Yeah.
on, Darius Hale, brother?
You guys ever play The Punisher on PS2 and Xbox?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! So everybody for shooters on that era, it's always Max Payne, um,
Halo.
Halo, but The Punisher, the stuff you can do to bad guys, you can like melt their heads on the oven. Like you could do all this wild kills that you'll probably never see in video games again. And then like by the end of the game, like Iron Man joins you. You see Kingpin. For a licensed game to be that good in that era is really
Yeah,
really unique.
there were few games on that era licensed that were that level, but I was thinking Crazy Kills and everything Manhunt.
Oh god,
Manhunt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Manhunt with the headphones on?
Yep.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's like I had a roommate at the time, and he barges in yelling something about something that happened to my work. I'm like, dude, shut the hell up. He's like, are you playing online? I was like, no, I'm playing against the computer. And he was like, what do you mean? Not they hear you? I was like, yes. That was a great feature.
I mean, I feel the same way about playing Bloodborne. Do it with headphones on.
Yep.
Yeah, but Manhunt was if you yelled into the mic, the guys
It
heard
will
you.
register.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, no, I know. I remember that with Manhunt. I'm just saying though, for this a nice
It's strange.
atmosphere.
No game has done anything like that since. It's really strange.
Well, I think also too that game got such a attack from mainstream media, like, oh,
Yeah.
look at this, snuff movie simulator.
Yeah.
The only
Various
game that I
comments
know
like
that
that.
did that before was Takeshi's Challenge. For
Oh,
some
God.
reason, that Nintendo game will
Mhm.
actually register everything that you yelled on
so
the
funny.
second controller, and people will actually insult you because you were talking.
That's funny.
I'm kind of surprised Nintendo didn't do that when they released the NES over here compared to the Famicom, how it had a mic in the second
Yeah, that was
controller.
cool, man. And they didn't do it again until like
The Wii.
Wiimote.
No, the DS.
Oh, the DS. Yeah, blue in it and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
there was I don't remember the exact name, but it was a kind of mini game for Bomberman
Hmm.
that used to have really crazy good mini games. I used to love that goddamn thing. It was like, for example, you were flying on a rock, on a magical rock, and you needed to blow on the microphone to keep flying. So and it will be multiplayer. So you will be playing with, I think it was up to 8 other people.
Hmm.
So you will, instead of be blowing, yelling at each other. God damn son of a bitch, motherfucker! And the rook will keep flying.
I mean, partially, I think them not including that mic in the second controller. I mean, they did do some other stupid things on the Famicom, like the controllers were hardwired into the actual
Yeah.
console. But that was also during the time when a lot of stuff they wouldn't give us because they thought Americans were too stupid to
Too
handle
dumb.
it.
That's
Too
why
dumb.
the first RPG was like a joke. What the heck was I forget the name of it. The Square RPG and
Well, that was on
Super
Super
Nintendo.
NES.
yeah.
Final
like-
Fantasy Mystic Quest.
Oh yeah, it's like a kid's game.
Yeah. But that's why, that's why we got the Super Mario 2 we did and not the one that was actually done in Japan.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
way too hard that they didn't think American kids would be able to handle it.
And
They just-
also, they had something just lying around because it was goddamn, I forget the name.
Panic.
Yeah, Doki Doki Panic. So basically, that game was originally meant to be a Mario game, but some brand that decided that they needed a game. They
Yeah, it was a
went to
Toei
Nintendo, and
Animation, I
Nintendo
believe.
was like, "Yeah, here you go, and we will do another Mario." So whatever. And when they finally decide, what are we doing for the US? We have a Mario game. This is not a Mario game. Shut up.
Because all they did was pretty much change a few sprites around. Other than that, I've played the original Japanese version, and it's the same game.
Yeah,
Just some sprite swaps.
in the original Doki Doki Panic, you can find some sprites for a Mario game because it was the original development. So it kind of went full circle.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, I always kind of enjoyed Mario 2 over the first one.
I enjoyed over part 3.
The lost levels, yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm talking the actual Super Mario 2 that we got in the States, which was
I
dope.
love
Oh, yeah. I have never finished that game. I have been up to level, I think it was 5-3.
Huh.
It's 7 levels, and I was it was 7 levels, and I was 5-3. I never passed that point because reasons. I don't know. I was just. It's the same game over and over and over and over.
Well, that's pretty much any NES game, really. I mean, the thing is, and people don't give the Mario games enough credit for this. After a certain point, the difficulty spike really jumps.
Yeah,
especially in the NES era.
Yeah, but they're so fine tuned, man. It makes you feel like you immediately feel you can get good at it, and then by the time the difficulty ramps up, you kind of know what you're doing, and you're not frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you guys consider to be your favorite Mario game?
I have to go with Super Mario 64 because I feel that game holds up against almost any other game. I really believe that. I think you could pop in N64 and you could still appreciate. I know it's blocky, but you could still visualize and see everything, and everything makes sense. And the gameplay is so tight, the challenge is so good, and it's just amazing.
I'm torn apart between Mario 64, that by the way is the game that is plugged to my N64 all the time, and also I have it on the Wii and Wii U. But on the Wii U, there's other of my favorite Marios. That is Mario 3D World.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's an underrated Mario game. If you go to the levels after you finish the main campaign, it gets crazy difficult, and I have 100% it. That means you have to go with every single one of the characters for every single one of the levels and get the golden flag, and also get all the stars and everything. It's a really, really difficult game to 100%. So I love that difficulty. I love the amount of dedication that it needs. And 600 and something lives later, I finish it. So.
Good choices from both of you. I mean, I'm going to go a little bit of a different tact. I'm going to say Super Mario World.
I love that one too, though.
That, it was such a lush, vibrant, colorful game. And for a pack-in title, it really showed off what the Super NES was capable of, above even what the Genesis was doing at the time, and definitely leagues above what the NES was, doing towards the tail end of its cycle.
You want to hear my Super Mario World story?
Yeah, go. I can't wait to hear this one.
I'm like 14, and I go to Lake George, and the day we're leaving, I spotted this girl, and she's looking at me. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to go talk to this girl. I have to. So we exchanged numbers. It turns out she lived 2 hours away in New Jersey, and my mom convinced her mom to let me stay there for 2 weeks. Nice. I'm 15. I'm going to go stay at a girl's house, gorgeous blonde girl, and I'm like pumped. So when I get there, she has all I had was a Genesis at the time. I didn't have the Super Nintendo. I get there, she has Super Nintendo, Super Mario World. I think all I did was play that game. I didn't do anything with this girl. I mean, she played it with me, and she was cool about it. I think, I'm telling you, I didn't go to the beach. I didn't go to the stupid bowling alley she raved about. I just played freaking Super Mario World, and did not ever go there again. So I guess she wasn't too happy about that.
I might not surprised for you.
Well, I'm a gamer, man.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. I've known you for 35 years.
It was, like you said, it was mind blowing. The sound, like I love the Genesis, but the sound in the Genesis, either you love or hate it.
Yes,
or the
and
sound
that varies game to game too.
Right, the sound quality on that Super Mario World was just incredible. It was so crisp.
You
That
know
made it.
what? Why the sound is that good?
No.
It was a Sony chip. So the story is that the president of Sony
Hmm.
played on the Nintendo and went like, "This sound is crap." So he approached, he approached Nintendo with, "We have this new technology for audio chips. Do you want to integrate it to your next console?" And it was integrated to the Super Famicom.
It worked because
And that's the way that they started to do negotiations to actually do the rights for. Basically, they will do a Super Nintendo that had some more Sony additients and the CD player.
hmm
Yeah, and Sony will have the rights to the Nintendo characters. They will profit from every single game that will be created for the CD add-on, and that's the PlayStation. That's how
yeah.
the PlayStation started.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo actually backed it out because they didn't want to share the IPs and everything,
Yep.
and the revenue they went to Philips, and in the end they got screwed because, well, Sony created the PlayStation.
Yeah. I wonder how history would have changed
Yeah.
if they would have just made the disc and let Sony work with them. It's really
Uh,
strange.
yeah, you can see what they were cooking on the original PlayStation because that is a beast. I mean, the original, the first console, the first version of the console, it was a beast for audio playing.
Yeah.
There's audiophiles that are still hunting down that model because it's mind-blowingly good, and I mean studio level quality for CDs.
Really.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that was going to be on a Nintendo console.
Mm. Yeah. I know Nintendo backed out of that, and I mean Nintendo's doing fine. I mean I think the DS or one of their wacky systems are the most sold systems of all time. So what's
Yeah,
strange is
the
what is
Switch is getting closer.
yeah. What's number one? It's like the something weird like the DS or
I think it's the Wii.
the Wii. Okay.
Yeah, it's 111 million units,
Wow.
something like that.
And the
It's
Switch is
really
gonna.
stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. I mean, everyone had it. It's just something like everyone had that thing. People's grandmother and mom, and because of that bowling, everybody had to bowl at home.
Yeah,
What console was that?
The
the
Wii.
Wii.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's old an ungodly amount.
Yeah, so just because of Wii Sports, that
Yeah.
packing game.
And it boggles my mind how a company can do something so unbelievably successful as that,
Hmm.
and then fumble the ball, turn it over, let the other team score, get the ball back, fumble it again, and let the other team score with the Wii U.
Wii U.
Oh, by the way, my Wii U is my favorite console.
I have one, and it's a lot of cool shit you can do with it.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
You know what?
It's
But
also got custom firmware, so there's that.
oh,
What's your favorite
uh,
game on the Wii U besides the Mario, Pablo?
Breath of the Wild is
Oh,
my
okay.
favorite game of all time.
Do you like Zombie U?
I have it. I
Yeah.
barely played
Yeah.
because the screen. Also, that's the why I don't play a Fatal Frame.
Uh huh.
I barely touch other games because when you need to use the gamepad all the time,
Hmm.
I I could not care about getting it charged all the time.
Okay. Oh, so you use a
Yeah.
Pro controller. Well, I like Zombie U was clever because when you went into your inventory, it was a backpack, and you had
Uh-huh.
to look down into the screen, and that kind of simulated digging through a backpack, so you wouldn't be looking at the TV, and then zombies would come at you. You know what I mean? Because in real time, I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
There's other games that had some interesting ideas.
Yeah.
Even the Sonic, the Lost World, or
Yep.
however it's called, it's actually a really decent game.
Yeah,
It's just nobody paid attention, and then they went with Sonic Boom, so
yeah,
Sonic kind of died on that console. They were supposed to have another two or three exclusives, and
yeah,
they didn't get anything.
yeah. I actually, when the Wii, I got the Wii U at launch, and I'm one of the people that when I get a system, I want to use everything that it claims it can do. So I'm
Mhm.
probably, I mean, I've never even talked to anyone else that did this. The Wii U had like a sports feature. Say you're watching a live game, like say you watched a basketball or soccer match tonight.
Mhm.
You can have a app on the Wii U that would have like updates for everything else going on in the league, and that was really it was useful. I used it. Um, the Wii U did it. It was the first time I really went on YouTube a lot. Was I didn't have the computer at the time. I used the Wii U's pad to like I'd be cooking and watching a YouTube cooking channel to for tips. I
Mhm.
used everything that Wii U did, and the camera. I did phone calls with it. I thought that was an underrated system.
Here's something really interesting about the Wii U that not many people know. Pornhub was had a version developed and it was optimized for the Wii U.
Are you serious? It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's great.
it was not a really well sold console or
Yeah,
anything. They
it
just
was
went
good,
and did
man.
it.
Did it. That pad has a lot of bells and whistles in it,
Yeah,
and it just didn't have like the launch titles. You live and die with launch titles, and I think the launch titles just didn't pull everyone in at first.
yeah. If they
They
had,
depended on Ubisoft for all their launch
yeah,
titles.
if they had Super Mario 3D World
Yes, at
and
launch.
Zelda Link to no Wind Waker HD,
Yeah,
they will have a lot of potential
yeah,
because Wind Waker is a really beloved game and
mm,
the quality, the graphics are amazing, the improvements are really, really good. So people will have actually wanted that console for that game and for
mm.
Mario. Those are two really great games to get, and you know that Mario Kart is still selling like crazy because, well, it's the best Mario Kart ever made.
Yeah. Yep. I think everything is going up in value for that Wii U as well.
Yeah, and I have almost every single one of the important games. I'm still missing Star Fox Zero,
Yeah.
and I think is Wonderful 101. Those are the games that I'm missing.
At
Other
least
than that, I have almost the full good games library.
yeah. Wonderful 101 they at least ported to the Switch.
Yeah,
But it actually plays better on the Wii U because the gamepad allows you to do all the combos.
yeah. Oh, Pikmin 3 on the Wii U
Hmm.
is just the perfect game
Hmm.
because you can be pointing on on the gamepad
Hmm.
and seeing everything happen on the screen, so you actually make sense of having the gamepad on that game,
Yep.
and it's
Yeah.
really good. It's amazingly good.
Yeah. No, I dug it. I thought the Wii U was clever. Just
Yeah. By the way, Pikmin 3 is a game that I got for free because they had this promotion that if you had a Mario Kart 8, they will
mm,
give away one game. I think it was WarioWare something, Zombie U or Pikmin 3. And I
awesome.
got the bundle of the Wii U with Mario Kart 8.
Hmm.
So I registered the Wii U and I registered apart Mario Kart 8. And I had enough the coins on Club Nintendo to get a couple of small games, and also I got Pikmin 3. So from the get go, had like 3 or 4 games
Yeah.
that were really good for free.
Yeah. Yeah. I still have it hooked up so I could play Wii games on it as well. It was also cool about
Yeah.
it.
With my best friend, we play Mario Kart 8 and Smash all the time. So is one of the consoles that is always hooked up. The other one is the PS4.
This is random. I forget. Did the Wii play GameCube games?
Yes.
It did, right?
You did,
Yeah,
yeah.
the original model. If you have
Yes.
the
But the
later
Wii U didn't.
model, yeah. But if you customize the firmware on the Wii
Mhm.
side of the Wii U, you
Yeah.
can actually hook up a disk drive, not a disk drive.
Controller.
No, hard drive with
Hmm.
GameCube games, and if you have the adapter for Smash Bros. 4,
Yeah.
the one that came with the game, you can actually play the GameCube games
Oh,
on the Wii U.
There's also a way, because that's I've done this on my Wii U, where you can put those GameCube ISOs directly to your home screen as an
Yep.
icon. You can just start it right from there.
there's a Wii game called Cursed Mountain. That's pretty good, and it doesn't really use any waggle or motion controls. It's like a horror game where your brother was climbing this mountain and he's went missing, and you have to go look for him, and you end up going inside the mountain. It's like Resident Evil horror game. It's pretty good.
You
Wish some of them
know,
games would get like ported up or just put on all these shops like the
yeah,
PlayStation. Or
I always hated the motion controls.
I did too.
Yeah.
They just never. I loved it for bowling and all that sports stuff, but when it came to playing a regular game, I was just like, something doesn't feel right. This can't be.
Yeah. The only time when it clicked with me, it was on Metroid Prime 3.
Yeah, that actually was
That,
pretty good.
yeah, it was the first game that I played using the
Yeah,
motion control. So I was actually trying to move my whole body. And
yeah.
that I know that was stupid, but my brain was like, no, if you are moving this, you are moving everything.
What did you have to do to finish the enemies? You had to like whip it back or something. I forget
Yeah, it was
what is
something
Samus's
really
powers.
stupid. But then
It felt good.
I played the Zelda Twilight Princess, and I had it for the GameCube,
Hmm.
and I was like, no, this is not for me.
No.
And after that, I had a few good experiences with Rayman, Robin Rabbits,
Yeah.
on a party, or the WarioWare for Wii that
Yeah. That
actually
was.
had some really good
Yeah.
mini
You
games.
put it on
But
top of your head and duck down and.
yeah, but we used to do something because we used to do these parties that was
Yeah.
called a fest. So you will literally go a couple of days just playing video games with your friends.
Yeah.
So we had a ton of TVs hooked up with different consoles and everything, mostly Smash, because
Yeah.
Smash Bros. Melee was awesome. But to make it difficult on the WarioWare game, we actually had obstacles. So we had a
They
line,
set up. Yeah.
and when it's your turn, you have to jump and try to get on time to the control before the time is out and perform the action. It made the game really better.
Yeah.
And after that, I never cared for the motion control ever again.
I tell you what, it's a boring sport, but the Tiger Woods for Wii. Remember when the Wii had that add-on to make the motion controls like a little better? I think it came packed in with that Tiger Woods. Um, that's an incredible experience. It's like you really are golfing in your living room, and the Switch has motion controls. So, you'd
Yeah,
think they would, you know, use them in some way. I didn't hate motion controls, but like for the golf and the bowling, I guess they did make the new Switch Sports. So
yeah. If you see the usage statistics as a developer,
yeah,
you are actually deterred from using motion controls because it's not worth the time. You know
yeah, it's not
that less
selling.
than
Yeah.
5% will use them.
Hmm.
And that's what turned me off to both Twilight Princess and the other Zelda that came out on the Wii. What was that?
Skyward Sword,
Yeah,
Skyward Sword was shit, man.
not
And I
even good.
mean,
Even without motion controls, it's just not a good. The overworld is boring, and
yeah, you have the same boss like 3 or 4 times.
yeah,
The mice was a really interesting concept, and having that exploration of the creation of the Master Sword was really good.
yeah,
But other than that, Fi was really annoying as a companion.
yep.
The controllers were really annoying as a scheme to move your character. And yeah, the dungeons, except one, were really not that interesting.
That's the only Zelda game I've never beaten.
Oh,
I just,
I beat it.
I just couldn't do it. I just hated it.
No, I have Zelda is my favorite franchise.
Mm.
So I have this rule for myself. Even if I don't like a Zelda, I need to finish it. And there's
Yeah,
only two Zeldas that I have not liked. That
that's
one is that one, and the other one is Spirit Tracks.
Spirit Tracks. Yeah, that's unique. The train on the DS. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
actually,
you have
I
to use the
prefer.
stylus the whole time.
Yeah. I actually
Yeah.
prefer Phantom Hourglass on
Oh
that
yeah.
gameplay scheme. That was a really charming game. Spirit Tracks, not so much.
Yeah.
I mean, as I love Zelda, it's one of my favorite franchises when it comes to video games. But some of their games, especially in the later gens, have gotten really hit or miss. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I like Minch Cap. I didn't think was all that good.
Oh, I love it.
Minish Cat. That's a Game Boy Advance, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
Capcom did that.
did
Yep.
Capcom do that one?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I know they did the two
Because
for Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
the Oracles, yeah,
Yeah,
they does that too.
Yeah. I beat Minish Cap.
you know,
What's the what?
Skyward
Skyward Sword.
Sword is
Yeah.
not good. Don't forget the CDI ones, and I've played one of those.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well.
Those don't exist.
Oh, just oh boy. Um, but what's funny is one of my favorite Zelda games is ones that people gave a lot of shit to when it first came out in Wind Waker.
I
Oh,
was
Wind Waker, I love it.
and
I
it holds
have
up.
it. Yeah, I
You know?
have it for the GameCube and for the Wii U.
The Wii U being a slightly better version since you don't have to do all that hunting for all the Triforce pieces.
Actually,
Yeah.
you do, but you get a map that gives you the clues for where everything is really quick, and also you get the upgraded sail,
Hmm.
so you can actually go really fast on the sea. And that, yeah, if you are counting the time, you get like 10 hours less of an adventure, but those 10 hours are just going to point one to point two, or that.
Uh, Wind Waker came out after Twilight Princess, right?
No, before.
No, before.
What came? What
Is the
came out?
first GameCube Zelda.
Okay, so
And
here's what
then it was Wind Waker, then Twilight Sword or
Yep.
Twilight Princess.
was this backlash was because of the cell shading though.
Yes,
It was
a lot of
because
it.
they had a demo on
The tech
E3.
demo, right?
Yeah,
He was fighting
that
that
was.
spider, and it was
Yeah.
yes,
No, against the spider. It was against Ganondorf.
and it was
But
all
it
realistic
was,
looking.
really realistic and really brutal and everything. And when they finally
Yeah,
released the game, was Wind
you're like,
Waker.
well, what the hell is this? Yeah,
One of the other big complaints too was the overworld was just islands.
yeah, but it was in hindsight, it's one of the best ones. It holds
Yeah,
up
it
still.
really is. I
Yeah.
remember a buddy of
It's
mine was
unique.
going on vacation and he let me borrow his GameCube for 2 weeks. And he let me borrow that with the three games he had. He had Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, and Luigi's Mansion.
Those are good games.
All three of them.
Yep.
I mean, that was the point where I fell in love with Metroid Prime.
Yeah, it was a great game, man. It's a first-person shooter that plays like a puzzle
Just the
game.
atmosphere.
That's so good, man.
Um,
I don't know how that's not on the Switch in any form. It's
Yeah.
so weird.
Luigi's Mansion, I think, is a little underrated because people are like, oh, okay, whatever. It's a Mario spinoff.
Mario.
Yeah,
But that game was, short. It was still a good, solid.
good launch title, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved
And, as we were talking about Wind Waker, it's one of the best ones.
it. It's so good. It's so creepy and so like when go to that island where everybody's like a statue.
Mm-hmm. That and honestly, Link to the Past are my two favorite.
Yeah,
Oh, A
Everybody
Link to
raves
the
about
Past.
Ocarina, but it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Maybe the best 3D Zelda, but best Zelda still goes to Link to the Past.
No, before Breath of the Wild, my favorite game was actually A Link to the Past, and I
yeah.
have it on. Well, there's this version that came for the GameCube with other games.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
mhm.
yeah, I
Going up
have
the belly.
the original Super Nintendo version that I got in an auction with box and everything on eBay uh, 15 years ago, maybe.
Wow.
And it was really cheap, $40. for
Wow.
the game in box with manual. The manual is pristine.
Oh
The
man.
box is in really good shape. Only it has a hook for the store display. That, well, whatever, and the cartridge is just perfect. So that game I 100% a couple of times. I have it on the Wii U. I have played on the Wii U over and over and over and over. Is just is this really fun game that you
Mhm.
can start playing without any concern of the world.
Yes.
Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are really good games, but
Mhm.
you need to be in the mindset to play
And
them.
Majora's Mask stresses me out. I can't do it. It's so good, but it stresses me out. I could never enjoy it.
Just do the reverse time zone, and
And
time
you
goes
keep going
slower.
back. That's true.
So speaking of Zelda, I have an opinion, and I kind of want to hear what you guys think of it. With Elden Ring,
Mhm.
I've described it to people as Zelda for grown-ups.
Hmm.
Yep,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
it's okay. So you at least you're in agreement because it really is. If you think about it,
Hmm.
it does get a little linear once you get towards the end game, but that's really any game.
Mhm.
But just the freedom to explore, to do what you want when you want. The puzzle. They were minor puzzles, but there was still you had that one tower that was pretty much a platform puzzle,
Hmm.
which was not fun.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild and A Link Between Worlds took reference for the original Zelda,
Hmm.
that you could go in any one of the first six temples, if I remember correctly, uh, at any time. So you could basically play the game at your own pace and do stuff at your own will.
Yeah.
That is really, really good if you are a player that like exploration, like secrets, like to mess around in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, A Link Between Worlds did it really good. Breath of the Wild did it perfectly.
Yeah. The
That's
Breath of the Wild. I love how you can just climb and everything, but
yeah.
there's the stamina makes it so if you miss time, if you have to know by playing the game how far you can climb, and then it becomes like a game within itself, just climbing a wall, which is kind of genius. Um, I always felt like Assassin's Creed lets you climb everything, but it doesn't really feel earned because you just kind of hold the
Uh-huh.
button down and you climb. And then Breath of the Wild, it's like you can climb something, but if you misjudge your stamina, you're gonna fall and die. And it's just really clever.
Yeah, one of the things that you upgrade first is just having more stamina. Even if you
Yeah.
don't get new hearts or
Oh yeah.
whatever.
I made it my. I was obsessed with getting more stamina so I could just climb everything and anything. So I didn't have to worry
Have
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you gotten the 120 dungeons? So you
Oh
get everything?
no, I got close to it. I think I got 117 or something crazy, and I just you know I didn't use any guides for that game.
Okay.
Was it better first?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we have a
I got
question here
oh,
That's a
from
good
the we have a
question.
question from the chat from Christian Delorme. Question for the panel: what is better, first person shooter? I'm assuming, or stealth games?
why not bot? Thief.
Yeah, when they're combined.
Yeah, Thief.
Thief, yeah, that's an example of first person stealth. There's aspects of stealth
I
in Perfect Dark.
I love games that you go in stealthy, but if shit hits the fan, you could just leave guns blazing, and the mission doesn't end.
Oh,
Um,
Crisis, for example.
yeah, even Splinter Cell went away from like missions. The first Splinter Cell, you get caught, mission's over. If you play the latest Splinter Cell, I forget the name of it.
Double Agent.
Is it Double Agent?
It was that was the one for GameCube, right?
No,
No,
there's
360.
it was on
Oh,
Wii U as
because
well.
there was
Deus Ex is great.
yeah,
It does
Deus
both as
Ex,
well.
Mankind Divided. I really love that game.
Yeah, Yeah, I love it when
But yeah,
you get caught and you can just all right, you know what, everyone's just gonna die.
Oh, look at
there
everything we tried to
was.
do in either Far Cry 5 or that one Ghost Recon. It's like,
Mhm.
all right, we're gonna try to go in nice and sneaky.
Yeah, then
Yeah,
shit
that
gets
lasts
bad.
for all of like 3 minutes, and then it's like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
There was a co-op game, a co-op Splinter Cell game for the GameCube. I don't remember what was the name of the game. That
Ooh,
it was really fun.
yeah. No, I mean but if I had to choose, I don't have the patience just to play pure stealth. So I'll probably go first person shooter. If I had to just choose, a genre. I, I like the concept of stealth games, but I always get caught somehow. I just get impatient.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm not a huge fan of stealth games. I don't mind stealth elements to a game.
Right,
Like
right.
Sekiro had stealth elements. Elden Ring has a little bit of a stealth element at
Yeah.
times. And that I don't mind, but like you were saying, I do not like, oh, you got to call it mission over.
Yeah, like
Or, oh, go
the,
back to the checkpoint, try again.
the first Splinter Cell, it was the things you could do within the world were amazing, like turning off lights and shooting out lights, and
Mhm.
you'll screw with the guards' heads. But then I would still get caught, and then be, oh, sorry, Sam, mission's over. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
No, that's why I loved the Metal Gear games, because if you get caught,
Yeah, you just
you
run around.
just
Yeah,
kill everyone,
right. Or hide in a box.
or just use the stun gun. But when I was playing stealth, I will just use the stealth gun before anyone found me
Yeah,
with every single one of the guards.
yeah.
Sometimes
Although,
you just have to.
although back to
Yeah.
Manhunt, that was a pretty good stealth game. I mean, I went out of my way to not get caught in a lot of them areas.
Again, that was also one of those games. If you got caught, you still had
Yeah.
a way to deal with it, and
If
it
you got
wasn't.
caught, it was hard though. They
Mhm.
came for you. They would
Mhm.
mess you up.
Since we also mentioned horror games a bit tonight, what are your guys' feelings on the Castlevania franchise?
I love them.
I love them. It's funny. I'm still waiting for like that franchise to come back and make the best Castlevania ever. I still think there's room there to make the definitive Castlevania game.
Oh, I agree 100% on that.
Am I right? I mean, the time is now too. I don't know what the heck Konami's doing.
Yeah. The
I mean, I
Konami
love
right now.
Symphony of Night, but
Yeah. Konami right now is in another mindset. They are full on the pachinko machines and the gyms on Japan, so that's why
but
they are not doing anything interesting.
but every
The
once in
only
a
thing
while they'll put out a weird random release like the Metal Gear, like whatever that was, the Metal Gear Survival.
Oh, that was
well, that's the
shit.
only franchise they care about is Metal Gear.
Yeah.
But they put out that
But
stupid Contra game out of nowhere that wasn't like Contra.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
the last really good Castlevania games were for the DS.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Area of Sorrow, and you
Yeah.
had the portraits. I don't remember
Portraits of
portrait.
Ruin, and then
Yeah, an Order of Ecclesia.
yeah.
Those were really good games. Really good games.
Like I did not like the any of the 3D ones. That's for damn sure.
You got to
No-
play the second one. The first one that tries to be like God of War.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Looks
Castlevania
cool.
of War, Castlevania. How is?
It's not awful, but it wants to be God of War.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The second
And
one where you play as the bad guy, that one's actually really good. I have it.
yeah, they
I bought
changed
it,
the
Bill.
continuity and everything. It
Yeah.
was Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
That's it.
Yeah.
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 I didn't like either of those. I didn't like the 64 ones. I didn't
I
like
like-
the ones that came
like
out
the
on the
64
Xbox
one for some
PS2
reason.
era.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, on the PS2, I forget what the name of that one.
There was two of them. One was like Devil May Cry, but worse.
Uh huh.
Because you could just run by every enemy if you didn't want to fight them. The only times you had to fight enemies were the rooms where if you didn't kill all the enemies, the door wouldn't open.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really messy.
Yeah.
I remember loving that N64 one though.
I wanted to like it, but it was
I
just
mean,
so
so
clunky.
cumbersome. It really
Yeah.
is. But I
Yeah,
my-
in the N64 you play as a werewolf and everything.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
kooky.
I mean, my
Yeah.
two personal favorites are Symphony of the Night and Castlevania 4.
I like Castlevania 4 a lot.
Mhm.
That, to me, is the until they do another one, is one of the definitive Castlevanias.
Yeah.
Because it took elements from all three of the ones that came before it and improved on them, and then just added more to it.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they go back with Soma Cruz in another game. It was a really good character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the TurboGrafx 16 CD one, Rondo of Blood, that was another really good Castlevania game. Just really hard, very hard.
Yeah, I give up.
The Genesis one was good too.
Yeah, I like that because you could pick your character.
But I don't know. It seems like after Symphony of the Night, to me, they kind of started slipping and then really fell off.
They were
The DS,
the Game Boy Advance DS ones are really good. Though.
Yeah, that's they were still good there, but they were still slipping a little bit because like Order of Ecclesia was a decent game. It just wasn't a good Castlevania game in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe Portraits of Doom was the best of the later two. Yeah,
Because even with the
because
3 Game Boy Advance ones, those were great too. But the first one that came out, Circle of the Moon, was a little meh.
Oh yeah, Circle of the Moon.
But then you had
it's not okay. The first Castlevania on DS is Area of Sorrow or something of Sorrow.
Aria of Sorrow.
Area of Sorrow.
That one was good.
That one is really good, but is maybe the point where they decided that the story for those characters was complete. So Portrait of Doom, they tried to change the characters, and it actually worked. Order of Ecclesia, maybe they went too far away from Castlevania.
Yeah.
And then, well, maybe they decided to reset everything, but because when they went to
Lord of
Shadows, yeah, it was completely different.
I do believe that was considered a reboot. And
if they don't put it in 3D, they should just start from the beginning with the first Castlevania and make it remastered and updated. That'd be great.
Have you played Bloodstain?
Yeah, yes. Bloodstain is really good.
It's really good, yeah.
They've added a ton of stuff to that Bloodstain, different characters and modes.
And it also goes to show that a game like that can still exist in this day and age, aside from a handheld console.
Absolutely.
Because for the longest time, that's all we were getting on handhelds was...
Right.
That's the only time you'd see like Castlevania. It's like, oh, new Castlevania game. Oh, it's on GBA. Or, oh, it's on the DS.
I did love it on the DS because the map was right there on the bottom screen.
That was handy for sure.
I really liked that a lot. It saves you a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Christian... I've been gaming for as long as I can remember, and I turned 46 at the end of the month. So
I do too, and I still. It's a hobby that even if I don't play games, I want to know about them. It's just,
it
still fascinates me. It's my favorite pop culture medium, and the stories. Sometimes I like better than most films and the characters.
And the funny thing is, I've known this Joker since we were both in junior high.
Yeah.
And nice. We've kind of lost touch a little bit. We bumped into each other after high school as he was another friend of mine's roommate. And we're going over to the house, knocking on the door, and he opens it like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then we lost touch again. And one night, me and another buddy of mine were playing Overwatch.
Oh, God.
And this one guy in the opposite team just kept fucking with us and fucking with us and fucking with us and fucking with us. And I'm like, what? My buddy's losing his damn mind. And match ends. He joins the freaking voice chat. My buddy bails, thinking it's some guy jumping into the voice chat to troll us, and it turns out it was him. Just random match, too, just up out of nowhere.
That was so good, man. It said join Imperdius. I was like, yeah, I'll join him, and it pitted me against you. God.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, you were on my friends list, and it didn't even register. I was like, oh my God, this Reinhardt's being a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You were like leaving your team just to come fuck with us, too.
You know what game does that? I should try it. That, even though I don't like the game that much, that Sniper Elite 5, a person could join the game in the story as a random enemy and
Oh,
just
okay.
screw with you. I thought that's pretty smart.
It's almost like invasions in the
It's
FromSoft games.
exactly like an invasion, but you know you can actually work with the troops and command them to go to different spots of the map. And
Plus, it's not completely random either. It's somebody joining you that you
yeah,
probably know.
that's pretty. I thought that was pretty cool. The games need more stuff like that where you can just kind of like you know join your friend's game and screw with them.
I was trying to see if Cronin was co-oping with anybody else in Elden Ring so I could invade him.
See, exactly. That's
Because you know he'd be like, "Oh no, 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 not you."
yeah.
Oh,
I'll give
'cause-
you Ubisoft credit. The first, I don't know which Watch Dogs, the first or second one, they clearly were stealing the invasion concept from Dark Souls, but you can get invaded, so to speak, and you wouldn't know who the person was, and they can hack you and like steal your money and stuff. So one time, I remember sitting in my car, a random car that I stole, and not moving and watching this person like run around the map looking for me. I kind of like turned the tables on them. I thought that was fun.
Somehow I'm not a multiplayer kind of guy. First of all, well, I have 34, so I'm a bit younger.
Yeah.
And when the consoles started to get this paywall for playing
Oh yeah,
multiplayer,
it's bad.
yeah, also my friends didn't have the consoles and such. So I was mostly playing alone. And so since the PS2 and GameCube, well, those are the consoles that I had for the most time, and I could
Hmm.
play all the time. Those were offline consoles, so
Yeah,
I kind of got used to
playing
playing
alone.
solo.
Sure.
And the only things that I play multiplayer are things like Smash.
Right, where you're there next
Uh,
to someone.
yeah, exactly. Or know that in the Wii U, I can play with my best friend. We play that way, but uh, yeah, and even at that, there's some crazy, really interesting stuff. For example, all these that gamers are misogynistic and everything. I was playing Smash with my best friend. We were chatting, and I was like, "People are saying I'm misogynistic," and he's like, "You only play female characters on fighting games. What are you talking about?" And
Yeah,
yes, I was using
it's such a dumb.
Lucina.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't get it.
no.
Normally, if I'm playing an RPG where I can create my character,
Yeah,
unless I want to feel like I'm a badass."
yeah.
I create a female character because if I'm watching an ass for 20
Good.
to 80 hours, I want it to be a
That's a
nice ass.
great point. Well,
Yeah,
look at Tomb Raider. That became like a huge seller,
yeah,
and if you have a good game with a good character, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman or whatever. As long as it's written well, people will buy it.
people maybe okay. The ones that have this argument maybe never played a lot of the games that are really important for the gaming community. For example, Metroid.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
how great was that when you found out it was a
it was
girl?
amazing.
It
It was
was
like
amazing.
finding that you were
It
Ripley.
was like, what the heck? Yeah, right. Wasn't she in a bikini though, or something too? You could get two.
Yeah, in the Japanese one, it was naked.
Wow, that's so weird. Now, how did you
No,
get
it's
that?
Japan.
What got you that ending where she
You had
the
to beat the
uniform?
game to get under a certain time limit.
All the time. I remember being
Yeah.
obsessed with doing it, and I think there was a code you could put in that put you.
Pretty much at the
Later.
end of the game.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of the coolest endings in gaming for a while at the time.
Yes. And it's funny how it's just a still screen. It wasn't even like it was.
No, it's just like, congratulations. Here's a lady
Yeah.
in a bikini.
Yeah.
Now you look at people look at endings, and I've seen people say like, "Oh, just because there's 7 endings in Elden Ring, 4 of them all the same. So technically, it's like, shut up."
Yeah, right. It's like,
Yeah, if you have tried to get the second ending on Tales of Symphony, you
Mm,
actually have to complete a lot of shit and avoid some
Mm,
characters to getting out of the party and shit. And uh, maybe if you knew how much you need to work for a real ending, you will
yeah.
not be
yeah.
crying so much.
Well, it wasn't
Yes.
about working towards it all. It was just, oh, well, some of them repeat. And I've seen people say endings in certain games aren't long enough. I'm like, it's an ending to a game, not a movie. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys save the animals or let the animals die on Super Metroid?
On
I
Super.
don't remember.
Wait. And Super Metroid?
Yeah, on Super Metroid.
Uh, when does that happen? I haven't played Super Metroid in a long time, and my the memory that sticks out for me is when the baby Metroid ends up helping you beat the
Oh
game.
yeah,
Oh my god,
that's a really good moment of the game.
it's
Actually, it
incredible.
breaks my heart.
It's
But
incredible.
after that, when you are running back to your ship when the planet is being destroyed,
Yeah.
you can get in a room just before getting into the ship
Yeah.
and blast a wall, and you let the animals that have helped you on the mission
Hmm.
go away. And you, the only thing that changes on the ending of the game is that you see a flash that is supposed to be a ship where they are getting out of the planet as it explodes.
Uh, that's cool though.
Yeah, I mean, certain games like that, it's nice when they throw in little things that you can do that'll tweak the ending just a little bit to make it
Sure.
more of an experience and put you more into the shoes of the character you're playing as.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, there's so many.
That's why one of the few games that I, The Witcher 3, you'll get into it because you'll want to answer it how you think you would if you were in that situation. That's a great thing about The Witcher 3.
Yeah, that game is over 600 hours for me. I have finished it once, finished it
How
another
did you?
time with kind of the first time I tried to romance both ladies,
Oh yeah,
and
that
yeah, that goes to
backfires.
shit. Yeah, then I was like, God damn,
Well,
Trish is the only one that actually is a really nice lady. So I will go.
yes.
Jennifer is a bitch. Let's be honest, she is a
Yeah.
goddamn is a terrible woman.
Yeah.
So I went for the ending with trees, and then I got the DLC.
Hmm.
I had the day one version of the game for PS4, and
Hmm.
then I got the complete edition.
Hmm.
So I took the manual. It's not a manual; it's something else. There's a letter from the developers and some stickers and everything, and
Yeah.
I got it into the complete edition. So I have a complete edition now. And since I had the game, I was like, well, I'm playing the DLC. I might as well finish the game again. So
Yeah.
I 100% the game, including the DLC.
It's usually with RPGs, if the mission I don't like it, I'll just skip over the dialogue. The Witcher 3, I really got into the shoes of that character and wanted to answer the right way and make sure I was that version of him I wanted him to be. And that's well done.
Yeah. Do you forgive the succubus on the
Um,
city?
I forget what the heck I did. I was gonna ask you, what's the name? That witch that you meet? Do you have to kill her, or could you save
Kira?
her? Yeah,
Oh, I fucked her.
I did too, but then I killed her.
No, I let her leave, and then she actually goes to Car Mortem and helps you. So
Oh, really? See, I killed
yeah.
her.
Also, if you let
Oh,
Leto leave,
yeah.
Leto goes to Car Mortem too. So they are really good help for the game.
Oh shit. And
Yeah,
that
and
ending kind of gets tough in the end. You know,
yeah, the ending is really really tough. And what ending did you got the first time?
the first time I got the one where I think it was the good ending. That's where me and Siri kind of just stayed as Witchers together.
Oh yeah, that's the first one that I got as well.
Yeah,
But did you stay with somebody or
I actually
was you
stayed with
single?
I stayed with Yennefer. That's when you're kind of like on that. What is that area where you guys kind of talk it over in?
When you go to fight the Jinn
Yes,
to revert the wish from the books.
yes, yeah. Yennefer I ended up with. Um, oh, I did like the way Triss looked better. What that game? A lot of people get wrapped up in romance in games, and I don't get it. But in that game, like
Yeah.
it's done so well.
The only games that I actually care about the romance is The Witcher 3 and
Hmm.
Persona 3 and Persona 5. In
Really?
Persona 3, I always go for I don't remember. I think the name of the character is Fuka. She is just sweet and lovely, so
Yeah.
why not? And Futaba on Persona 5 because let's be honest, she's the best waifu on that game.
Yeah. I got to replay that Persona 5. That's that year.
But yeah,
What was that? Was the year Breath of the Wild came out, right? Persona
yeah,
5,
yeah.
2018.
The first time that I finished that game, I went with the teacher. You can
Yeah.
romance the teacher, and let's be honest, she was really hot. But then I start to actually in my second playthrough, I was hanging out with Futaba, and she was like, "She's just a gamer."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, "God damn!" In real life, I will go for this girl. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did it, and it was a really good ending
What a year for games that was. That was probably maybe the best, one of the best
in a
ever.
long time. Yeah,
Oh my god, the year was crazy. It was unreal.
I
Even like
remember. Mhm.
no, even games that weren't like even meant to be that good end up being really good.
Yeah, I remember there was the year for Horizon Zero Dawn
Hmm.
and
Zelda
Breath of the Wild.
and Persona
Yeah,
5 and
now that I think about it, Horizon has had a really bad time with better games going
oh
out
yeah,
the next week.
It's
yes.
happened
Breath of
twice
the
to him now.
Wild,
Somebody said
uh,
a good point. They were like, I really hope they make a Horizon Zero Dawn Part 3 because then I'll know a really better game, a really great game will come out 2 weeks after.
yeah,
It's happened to him twice now. Breath of the Wild and then Elden Ring.
yeah,
Yes. So
Uh,
please make another one.
I can understand them maybe going up thinking they can go up against Elden Ring, but Zelda, they should have known they were just going to get bodied.
I don't know what the heck they were thinking.
uh,
And Elden Ring caught him off guard. I think that's why there was
yeah,
a lot of salt from various developers and
Yeah.
journalists because they don't know. Horizon Journey West was supposed to be the game that everybody was talking about,
It's
and
it's sad
Elden Ring
because
came along and dwarfed everything that's come out for
yeah.
the past year and a half.
But I
that,
can tell you with the first Horizon what they were thinking because they are developers.
mhm,
They thought that the Switch didn't have enough units and it
sure.
was just launching and the Wii U didn't have enough units, so they had a hit in their hands. More people had the PS4 than the Wii U and Switch combined,
Yeah.
and it backfired like crazy because
It's a
people flocked
Zelda
to get
game.
a Switch.
What's interesting is both games are more heavy on gameplay than story. The stories are there, but you got to find it. And Horizon Zero Dawn, the gameplay isn't bad, but they really love their cutscenes and
Yeah,
this world they created through dialogue. And both times they got beaten by games that just give you the game and let you play how you want to play.
I don't think anybody outside of FromSoft fans expected Elden Ring to do well, or at least not as well as it did.
I mean, there was some. This is the first time there's been like some hype for it, though. There's usually not. Like Dark Souls 3
No,
just kind of.
I remember seeing ads, for example, for when they were releasing Dark Souls 1 on PC. There was a lot of ads for that. There was always been advertisement for Souls, but I think you're right. Well, no, because I would have to say Sekiro probably got a bit more advertising because they had Activision publishing them.
Bloodborne because it was an
Yeah,
exclusive for
that too.
PS4, so they wanted
Yes.
to really sell it.
But I think naming it Elden Ring and not Dark Souls 4 was smart as well because he brought in a new audience because they didn't really think it was going to be a Souls game and they didn't know what they were going to get. They thought it was just a open world RPG.
And it was open world Dark Souls.
Yeah.
With some nice quality of life improvements and some tweaks to the gameplay. Like, there's no jumping in Dark Souls.
Right. Oh yeah, just having a jump button alone is
And people are like, "Oh, just having a jump button." Yes, it makes quite a difference in how everything
oh
plays
god.
out.
That's another reason why I don't like Sniper Elite. It's like they have designated areas where the guy can climb like a 20-foot wall with a vine, but you'll come to something that's like knee high and he can't get over it because there's no jump button. It's just
Yeah,
like
that's I've been playing Evil Dead with Mad Mardigan and Yeti Cast and Brahma Bull and Grant Gregory and those guys. Been a lot of fun, but there's no jump button in that game. You can vault over stuff,
yeah,
but that's it. And it's like,
yeah,
Yeah, it's the Pokemon dilemma.
yeah,
You want to just walk. There's this small, really small reach, and yeah, you are a kid that doesn't want to climb or get
yeah,
your clothes dirty for some reason. So that's really stupid. I
yeah.
always thought that.
That's my pet peeve in modern gaming is I want mobility to and physics to like
Yeah,
ramp up.
I would love to see a Pokemon game where you can actually climb and go around anything.
Sure, of course.
you know,
Breath of
pretty
the
much.
Wild kind of spoiled me because you're given all this freedom and all this mobility, and then you pop in something like Horizon Zero Dawn, where even Alloy can't climb everything, just what they want you to climb. It's just like, well, what sense does that
Yeah.
make?
And then you go to God of War, and
Yeah.
in God of War, you need to go to the specific
Yes.
points to climb. And I'm like, God damn, this feels so dull.
Yes. Yes.
It,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's funny because I think in a lot of cases when it comes to modern development, that you're sitting there worried more about, the UI and
Yes.
user experience and this and that. It's like, yeah, well, all that stuff is great, sure, but when you're not
Some.
even doing that right,
Yeah.
like all the memes that came out about what would happen if Elden Ring was an Ubisoft game, and
Yeah. All
there's like
those
all just this
clutter.
screen was just cluttered with info that's just
Yeah.
not needed.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's good. I mean, I'm not saying everything has to be bare bones simplistic
Mhm.
at all, but for the amount of years I played World of Warcraft,
Mhm.
that does not have a really crazy UI unless
Yeah.
you make it crazy, and you can do that with add-ons.
That's
Even up till recently, I've kept my UI in WoW. Even the last time I played it, was very streamlined and simplistic. It just had the info I needed when I wanted it.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
just let me choose what I want to tackle. That's all.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like if you see something in the world and you're gonna want to go to it, it's a point of interest because it's a castle or something.
hello, Lasheri. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
That's the
So,
beauty of Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild. Like it's a castle, obviously there's something good there, so you're gonna walk to it. I don't need something to tell me to go to a castle.
yeah, and that's what I was explaining to Cronin about Elden Ring. I was like, the one thing that From will do with their maps is if you see something significant in the distance, 90% of the time
Yeah.
you can actually go there and explore it.
Yeah.
There's a few things, like those giant in Caelid and Elden Ring, those giant skulls that are just set into the mountains. You don't really get to go to those, but you can get good and close to them.
Yeah.
Wait for the DLC. That's all
Yes.
I'm saying.
Speaking of Elden Ring and same buddy I was referencing, here's a story for you, Pablo. One, I got him into playing Elden Ring by guilting him. And I just told him, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, all these female streamers that you wouldn't think are playing a Souls, a FromSoft game are playing it. And it was like X-Ray Girl, Krista Nova, that Star Wars girl. And he's like, oh really? They're all playing it? I'm like, yeah, so you gonna man up or
Nice.
And it also didn't hurt that all of his buddies in this group chat he's in from work, they were talking about all kinds of other shit, and that game came out, and that's all they were talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm co-oping with him. I took him over to go kill the sleeping dragon when I found out about that. And for the rest of the game, he's sitting there, he's like, oh man, I hope I didn't screw up a quest. I hope I didn't screw up a quest. I'm like, dude, you're fine. Relax.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you know? I'm like, the game's been out for 2 weeks. Somebody would have found out something, if that screwed something up or not. Whether they knew exactly what it screwed up, they would know that something got screwed up. And then when he discovered Volcano Manor, I think you were in the voice party that one night, Angelo, where
Mm.
he's just sitting there like, "Oh man, I don't know if I want to deal with
Join.
Volcano Manor. They seem really, really sketchy." He's like, he was putting his own real world.
Yes, and they are sketchy.
They are sketchy, but I was like, dude,
Yeah.
why it's not like you're dealing with these people in real life. It's a video game.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fun part about that sketchiness is that your mission ends up being exactly the same. They want to
yeah.
burn the
Yeah.
R3 and you want to burn the R3, so it's like, well, just join. Whatever.
And it leads to a really great boss fight.
Yep.
Simplistic, kind of a simplistic boss fight, but still good nonetheless. And it did also lead to a couple really frustrating NPC invasions you had to do.
Yeah, there's a way to get to Rykar. Actually, you can go exploring the manor.
Mm-hmm.
There's a room where you do a roll and a wall disappears so you can get into the manor and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you actually get the trophy for the God's King novel.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've done that.
Yeah. If you follow that path and go to the really deep, you can get to Riker and kill him.
Hmm.
But isn't if you are doing that, well, you might as well also complete the other
Yeah, may as well
mission.
do the 5
Yeah.
invasions or whatever it is.
Also,
Because you
you
also
get
get some really good armor sets.
yeah, exactly.
Well, guys, I have to sign off. Pablo, it was a pleasure. We gotta do this again soon.
Yeah, man. It
Unfortunately, I have to
was
wake
really
up
good
at
talking to you.
yeah. I can talk about video. It's been an hour and a half, and it feels like 10 minutes. Has flown by.
Yeah.
When you start talking to good people doing this,
I mean,
time goes
I
by.
could talk about video games. I like talking about video games just as much as I like playing them.
Mhm.
So this has been really great.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do this again. If you want, give your channel another plug.
Yeah, I'm Toy Gains. If you any interest at all in toys reviews, tips on how to paint them and customize, and just my random thoughts on the toy industry, check out my channel. I hope you guys have a good evening and keep playing games and having fun.
And we'll drop your channel in there. Should be it.
Later, guys.
Have a
Take
good
care,
one, buddy.
man.
I'll talk to you soon. So yeah, he's a good dude. Check out his channel. Like I said, I've known him for 30, 35 years. You think he knows a lot about video games. He knows just as much about toys and collectibles and things like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great dude. Great dude. Yes, I mean, we've had so many games come out that were highly hyped that fell apart. And that's something that's actually been happening for a long time now. I can remember when everybody was hyping up Devil May Cry 2. Because the first one did really well, it was kind of like it came out of nowhere, did really well. Oh, here's the sequel; it's going to be even better, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, Devil May Cry 3 kind of fixed that.
Mm-hmm.
But
And then 4 was kind of bad again, and 5 and then that DMC one, I was just like, yeah, no, this isn't for me.
No, that was a really stupid game. I had fun with it, but if you really think about the story or really think about what's going on, it loses a lot.
And 5 was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have any complaints about it, but I didn't think it was anything overtly special either.
B was an interesting character.
Yeah.
And having more time with Nero and Nero being a badass, yeah, it kind of works.
Yeah, I'm not, it worked, like I said, it was good, but it wasn't, I don't know. I still think the first one's probably the best one.
From Devil May Cry 4, I had a lot of theories, and I had a poster a long time ago of Nero headbutting with Dante. And I was like, yeah, they are related. Nero has something to do with Sparta. I didn't know what it was, but I was really sure that they were related. And yeah, well, 5 gives us the answer. They were related.
Well, when you have two characters that pretty much look alike,
Mhm.
and it's not a fighting game.
It's not Smash.
Well, with fighting games, you'll have a lot of characters that look similar in some
Mhm.
cases. SNK is kind of guilty of this. Like if you go and look at the King of Fighters roster, it's a lot of characters kind of look the same in some ways.
Mhm.
So, but when you have a game that's more of a story, a narrative-driven action game, or like Devil May Cry, you have two characters that look alike. It's like, yeah, there's something going on there. Either they're related, or it's a clone, or something's going on. So yeah,
What? Yeah. What I was thinking is maybe he has Sparta, the kind of character that he was. Maybe he had more children because
right,
only Virgil and Dante, maybe. But no, having him being, I think it was the son of Dante.
right.
No, of Dante, of Virgil. One of the two. I think it was from Virgil. Anyway, it was a good twist. It was an unexpected twist.
Yeah, and thankfully, it's one of those things where little twists like that weren't as common in games,
Mhm.
and they're usually handled a bit more nowadays. When you see something like that, you're like, oh god, how are they going to handle this?
I'm still waiting to see if in one of the next Pokemon games you end up being the son of the professor.
Right.
I
Hell, at
always
this point, you
thought,
could even say if you're a son of Ash.
yeah, I was always suspicious of Professor Oak because he's like, go and have fun. I'll take care of your mother. And I'm like, really, man?
Wait a minute.
Really? Well, if you're giving me a free Pokemon and a lot of money, I guess I will, but really, man?
Well,
That's a weird universe. Basically, you have your teenage daughter, not even teenage, 13 years old or 12-year-old. Go to the woods, have fun, talk to strangers.
yeah,
And you're like, why? How? Why? Stranger danger.
yeah. It's kind of wait a minute here.
Yeah, that's a really, really weird universe. But I guess if you have a hamster that can kill people, you might as well, right?
Yeah, this is true.
It's a teaser hamster.
I've never been big into Pokemon, even slightly.
Oh, I love Pokemon.
When it came
But
out, I was already like well out of high school. Going out with my friends to bars and
oh
drinking and shit like that. I
no,
still
I
played video
got
games, but I saw that and I looked at it as, yep, that's meant for kids. And the other problem was too is I was working at GameStop at the time before they went full on psychopathic. The amount of calls I had to deal with every day from the same fucking kids asking if we gotten any Pokemon cards in. Same every day, same kids. We would tell them every day, this is when we get the shipments in. We'll know when that comes in.
I okay. When I was a kid, I didn't have that much money, but my grandfather, he actually had some. He got a Pentium 1 PC, I think it was, and one of my cousins got an emulator
Hmm.
of Pokemon Yellow at that time.
Right.
Yeah, and the anime was on Cartoon Network, so I was watching that. I got into the game, and I fell in love with the series. I should have been like what 10-year old. Yeah, it was the 2000s, so yeah, like 10-year old.
Hmm.
And man, that game was crazy good for me because well, you don't really have that many games, and having a Game Boy game on a PC was surreal. Also, it was in English, so I had to learn to read in English just for that. And I loved that goddamn game. Then Pokemon Gold, in emulation too. Pokemon, I think it was Ruby and Sapphire in emulation. And I got some friends that were playing Pokemon on consoles. And at that time, my mother went to Argentina for some reason. And there was a friend that will stay in my house for long periods of time because, well, life sucks for both him and me. So we just keep playing games instead of being sad. And my mom let me. It was $40. No, it was $50. And there was a Game Boy Advance SP for sale on a place that is kind of eBay that is called Mercado Libre for $40. So we had a month to eat with $50, and instead I got the Game Boy Advance SP, and we stayed eating ramen noodles for the rest of the month. We
Right.
bought. So we were eating like shit. But since I had the Game Boy Advance, I got somehow a Pokemon copy, and we were just a month playing Pokemon and eating ramen.
And it was probably as shitty as it was a hell of a time.
It was amazing. It was one of the best times of my life. Yeah, that sounds so sad. But
Well,
what can I say?
yeah, everybody has good memories about different things.
Oh man. Uh then I got the DS because my aunt is on the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and I saved a lot of money to get the DS. I work really really hard to get Pokemon Diamond. Then I jumped straight to the 3DS, and at that time I went to a store and they had for sale Pokemon Black 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I purchased it, and then, well, Pokemon X and Y. And for some reason, Sun and Moon I didn't really like. Uh, I didn't play them.
Right.
And to this date, I haven't played another Pokemon game. But on X and Y, I completed the Pokédex.
Nice.
So yeah, it was an interesting period with Pokemon. I kind of fell in love, had my really heights, and then I just stopped. I'm guessing maybe with the new Switch version, I'm thinking about getting a Switch.
You should. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, playing Pokemon, that sounds like a good time. But I don't know if I will get into the deep end. Uh, the X and Y period of time, I will actually raise breed Pokemon to people to raise. So I will sell them. I
Right.
will create perfect Pokemons. It was a lot of hard work, but one Pokemon could cost up to $10. So why not? Yeah, it was an interesting period of time.
Yeah, like I said, I never really got into Pokemon, just like I never got into Power Rangers, pretty much same reason. Just a little bit after my time
My
for the age range where I probably would have gotten into it.
my parents somehow thought the Power Rangers were kind of satanic because the show will play at 8 p.m.
Okay.
So I didn't have the chance to watch Power Rangers for a couple of years. Then I got a toy, and they were like, "Ah, okay, the toy is inoffensive. It just have a gun and change heads, and okay." And the show started to play at 5 p.m. so I could watch it and everything.
Right.
And I got hooked, but some of the seasons were really shit, to be honest. And there's some crazy things like there's a character called Trini that is the Yellow Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is a Super Sentai show that had some changes applied to it on the United States, but the fighting scenes of the
Right.
Ranger scenes are the original Japanese ones.
Yes.
Trini, the Yellow Ranger, the female Yellow Ranger, has a dick.
Oops.
It's no joke.
Oh, I
The
can
Yellow
believe it because they probably
Ranger
didn't even
has a
notice things
dick.
like that. Like, oh, okay, this matches up. This match, yeah, it all looks like it all matches up. We're fine. Huh.
Yeah, the Pink Ranger was pink, but the Yellow Ranger has a dick. It was really weird. That's a weird show. I recommend it just for the fun, but it comes with a lot of crazy stuff.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. Then, for some reason, I got into other kind of games. For example, my uncle gifted me Thief for PC,
Hmm.
and it was Thief: The Dark Project.
Right. That's
There
a good
was
game.
not, yeah, it was really good. Then I started to play a lot of first-person shooters, stealth games. So I got into that line of gaming. I still remember getting Age of Empires 2 with the Conqueror's expansion. So on PC, I had a different kind of games, of gaming library in general, and it was just too mature for my age. But let's admit it, those were the really good games. Yeah, I don't know what if you have played Age of Empires or StarCraft.
I played StarCraft.
Oh, how are you on RTS?
I'm okay with them. I've played quite a few over the years because for there was a period of time,
Mhm.
the only things really coming out on PC were RTSs and first-person shooters.
Yeah, it was mostly the whole catalog, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And you still see some other stuff come out at the time, but generally speaking, a lot of the big titles and during that time period were either first person or they were an RTS. So I
Hmm.
played a bunch. I played things like Total Annihilation, the Command and Conquer franchise.
Ooh, Red Alert and Command and Conquer were
Yeah,
really good.
all the various forms of Command and Conquer, Tiberian Sun, Red Alert, all that stuff. Um, a couple of the Dune RTSs that had come out, like Dune 2000, StarCraft, a bunch of other ones too. Because I'd go over to my buddy's house and we would just set up a LAN. Everybody bring their PC and monitor over, and we were either playing Unreal Tournament,
Hmm.
the original Unreal Tournament, or Unreal Tournament 2014. I think it was the other one that we played. A couple other shooters here and there that came out. I mean, I can remember when Call of Duty was a new franchise.
I used to love Quake 3 Arena
Hmm.
to play on LAN parties. That was a killer game, but on that time there was, yeah, there was some outliers. I still remember Sanitarium. Have you
Hmm.
ever played it?
I haven't played it, but I've heard of it.
Oh, yeah, you should play it. It's really cheap all the time on Good Old Games,
Mm.
and it's a crazy, freaky story. Basically, you are going in the psyche of a guy that is on coma, dealing with his shitty life, but it's all terror, so it's a weird game. There's a town of kids that are malformed. Um, Basically, a pumpkin alien killed their parents and now it's transforming them on mutants. It's a really good game.
Hmm.
Yeah, that era
And
was an
yes,
interesting
yes, I
game.
do, Christian.
Yep.
Duke Nukem 3D was fantastic back in the day.
What happened with oh yeah, they had a really bad game.
Yeah, Duke Nukem Forever. It got stuck in development hell and passed around from developer to developer to publisher to publisher. It got passed around a lot.
Mhm.
Development hell, and they
It
just
died.
no. It came out. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah, I remember people talking about that it was not the same kind of humor that they used to.
They had it. It was toned down a little, but still had a similar. It just overall, it just wasn't a good shooter. And it was still an okay Duke Nukem game, but as an
Mhm.
overall first person shooter, it was just they crammed every current day shooter trope into the game. So
I
like instead of
think,
being able
yeah.
to carry every like 8 different weapons, you could only carry two.
Oh, that's it.
Things like that. It was pretty much everything that Halo and Call of Duty were doing at the time. Just about they decided to cram into this.
Yeah, because I think the one that people adopted instead of Duke Nukem was Time Splitters, because it was the other fun
Well,
shooter. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
there's such a long period of time between Duke Nukem 3D and Duke Nukem Forever that a lot of people just either didn't know of the title, didn't
Mhm.
remember it, didn't care that it was coming back. It just took way too long for that game to come out.
Did you ever got into Worms Armageddon?
Not a lot. I could see how that game could be fun though.
That game is stupid fun, but you actually need somebody to play with.
Right.
Yeah, because normally if you are playing against the PC,
Mm-hmm.
is boring. But the fact that you have to wait for your friend to play,
Mm-hmm.
it's it gets into your nerves in a really bizarre way, because it's like, if you are going to kill me, stop being a dick. And there's always somebody that does tricks with the rope or something like that, and he's like, god damn, just kill me already, or let me kill you. Or if they fail, because you have to take the wind into consideration, the wind, and if there's some other element changing the trajectory of the missiles and everything, like, okay, if you fail, I will fuck you up.
Right.
So yeah, it's a really interesting game. I don't know if there's an online mode, but if there is, we should play it. It's two
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Like 'cause like I said, I've always played. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see how this could be fun, but nobody I knew was ever into them. So, like you said, it's one of those games where playing, against the AI gets boring after a while.
Yeah. There's games where you actually enjoy playing against the EA, like Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy.
I
Um,
played that a little bit back in the day.
there was the multiplayer where you could generate your character and fill the arena with a lot of other characters controlled by the PC. It
Hmm.
was really fun because you were a Jedi or you were a Sith. You had the powers, you had crazy skills, and just using the lightsaber. It was so goddamn fun. That's another game that I remember really fondly. Next range of all, Sonic Adventure. I used to play it on PC. Sonic Adventure DX and Sonic Adventure. No, Sonic Heroes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a kid, so I like those kind of games. I don't know. Maybe those were too kiddie for your age, but on my age
Well, I
was
mean,
perfect.
there was definitely a period of time when I was younger where,
Mhm.
yes, I would treat certain games like, oh, that's a game for kids, whatever. But as I've gotten older, it's like, unless something is directly marketed towards kids, there's a greater chance nowadays compared to, say, 20 years ago that I'll give it a
Mhm.
shot.
You should actually go back to some of those kiddie games, but because some of those kiddie games were really really fun.
Oh, yeah. And I have done things like that thanks to emulation. So, yeah, you're definitely right on that. It's just that I can safely say there's a period of time, I would say from 95 to like 98, 99, that like literally both me and a couple of my other friends would flat out say like the only video games we play are fighting games, RPGs, and certain other games. Like we still liked Metroid and Castlevania and things
Mm.
like that. And that was it. Like very, very, I knew some other people that got in, like my one buddy, even to this day, his preferred games, if they're not retro, tend to be like a racing game or a game like Ace Combat, things like that. He wasn't really one for uh really into RPGs. He did get into them as he got older, but like, racing, like I said, racing games, uh Ace Combat style airs, flight sims, and
Mhm.
then his favorite genre of all time is shoot 'em ups.
Mm.
He really, got into games like Thunder Force and Darius and Gradius, Life Force, all the all the shooters that came out over the years. Like I remember going to his house when we were younger and he had a Genesis, and like he had like 20, 25 games, and at least like 15 of them were shooters.
That happens a lot. I used to get really hot with the Toho games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that franchise.
Which one?
Uh, it's I think the name is just Toho.
Not.
It's like you are a witch on a broomstick.
Oh, Cotton.
No, 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 no. These are Japanese shoot 'em ups for PC.
Oh no. Okay, no, then I haven't.
What else? Do you own a joystick?
No.
No. Goddamn. I was about to recommend Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
Okay. I
Yeah.
played that back when that had come out.
Yeah, with a joystick, that game kicks ass even today. Because of the control scheme with a joystick, you actually feel like you are moving the pod racer, so it's really fun. That's one of the few games that I will say holds up with a joystick. That and some flight simulator games, but uh, even with those, I will prefer some other kind of controls. But the pod racing one is perfect.
Yeah, I remember playing that back when it had come out, and at the time, PC hardware wasn't insane at all.
Hmm.
Having 4 gig, I don't even think people were starting to deal with gigs of RAM, but like having 4 gigs of RAM was like, oh, holy shit. You spent a lot of money on your computer.
Yeah.
And my buddy's computer was running that, and his computer wasn't really anything to write home about, and ran it absolutely perfectly. And playing it was just like, wow, this is actually kind of amazing.
Yeah, at that time it was an amazing game. I
I
don't
always
think.
personally preferred the
Mhm.
Wipeout franchise myself, but
Yeah.
for futuristic racing, anyways.
Uh, do you ever play the Rogue Squadron on
Yes,
GameCube?
I played all 3 of them, the one on GameCube and the 2 that were on the 64.
Nice.
Yeah, those are pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
that was also at a time, though, when you could expect a certain level of quality out of Star Wars products.
Yeah, there was that time.
Because, I mean, they still put out some stuff that was questionable. But,
It was fun.
the Rogue Squadron games were good.
Mhm.
Shadow of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire, right? The one in the 64?
Yep.
Yeah. That game, while it does have it has its flaws, but they're not so much related to the game as it is the hardware. Also good. You had the Jedi Academy and Jedi Knight and a bunch of other games all come out in that time period, and they were all pretty damn solid.
Somehow, I think even before Disney purchased Lucasfilms and LucasArts and everything,
Mm-hmm.
there was a time where they kind of gave up with the Star Wars.
I wouldn't say they gave up. They just didn't. That was also at a time period too where companies weren't just spitting out as much stuff as they could for content. I mean, some companies did, but at that, when you had bigger things like Star Wars or Star Trek or anything like that, they took their time with it and made sure it came out decent at the very worst.
Mhm.
Instead of like, oh, well, we need content for, we need to have, there was no streaming at the time.
Yeah, I just remember after the Force Unleashed 1, the Force Unleashed 2 was kind of shit.
Yeah, it's like, all right, you could have, they, that's the problem. Like nowadays, when it comes to games, if a game comes out
Mhm.
and it does really well, they really want to try to rush out the next one so they can
Yes.
capitalize on the hype and the popularity of what came prior. It's like, you'll still get that. People, if you don't think people have an attention span of more than a couple of years when it comes to game releases, only thing I can say is, well, publishers, it's your fault because you got people
Yeah,
on the yearly game cycle, and it's like, I know so many people that just buy a game, play it, beat it, move on to the next one, and not go back and revisit things.
but at the same time, on that time frame, LucasArts were doing the HD versions of Monkey Island,
Mm-hmm.
and those were really good.
Yes, they were.
So it was basically like, yeah, they were just trying to pump out games
That's why I
for.
found it kind of funny when people would turn around and say like, oh, Fallen Order was the best, is the first great Star Wars game. It's like,
Nah,
no.
Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy.
Yeah, even the Super Nintendo Star Wars games were really good.
Yep.
Hell, I'll even go all the way back to the first Star Wars game I ever played in the goddamn arcade with vector graphics was still pretty good.
The one that you shoot from a ship, from
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
X-wing.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that one is really good.
Yeah, was it simple? Yes, but it also came out in like 1980. Video games were
Mhm.
really kind of sort of, that's the beginning of the first spike in popularity. I'd say it was about 1980, 81.
That was after the video game crash, right?
No, the video game crash I think happened in 83 or 84.
Yeah. Then you had a time of nobody really wanted something that was not a Nintendo.
Yeah, well, okay, the video game crash happened in 83.
Okay.
So it's probably like 79 to 81 was the height of like arcades. But here's the thing, as much as people say that there was a video game crash, and there was, it generally really only affected Atari. Because arcades didn't die off. Arcades still kept seeing good business even during the video game crash and before the NES released.
Yeah, Donkey Kong was breaking
Mm-hmm.
breaking bank. And if you think
And for people like me who were like, I was 7 at the time, I didn't know shit about it. I didn't care. I still played Atari. I still played my ColecoVision. You could still buy video games in stores. It wasn't like video game ended for until the NES came out. By no stretch of the imagination.
yeah, I think it was more the companies that were kind of scared.
Yeah, it affected consoles mostly. Like the Atari got hit and hit hard,
Mhm.
but the other two competitors at the time, they were, I wouldn't say equal, but they weren't getting destroyed by Atari as too bad. They're still getting destroyed, but it wasn't like what happened when Nintendo came out, what happened to Atari, who had already suffered the video game crash, and here comes something that you are not touching.
Yeah, also it was mostly on the US because if you think about the Japanese market,
Mm-hmm.
it was changing.
They also had, I don't know how big the Atari got over there because they had their own systems.
Yeah.
And they had the Famicom at least a year, if not 2 years before we did. So they probably got the Famicom, I would say, in 84, 85.
It was an interesting time for Japan also because they were starting to change the model as a whole. Uh, Home consoles for the US kind of got big and then they stopped. But in
Okay, so
Japan,
let's put it this way: the same year the video game crash happened here,
uh
the Famicom was released.
yep, that's where I was going. In Japan, they were just going ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, it only really affected the three consoles in the states that were the three big ones, which was the Atari, the ColecoVision, and the Intellivision. That's it.
Mhm.
Nintendo eventually came around. Arcades were still happening, and people who, like I said, it wasn't like video games ever disappeared in that time period. Some people seem to think, oh, the video game happened, and people just didn't play video games anymore. No, that was still kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I see in the chat, Christian asked us if we know what Joust was
Not a clue. That game
about
was absolutely
jousting.
bizarre. No, you ever see the Joust arcade game?
I think I have, but I'm
You're
not
riding
sure.
giant ostriches that fly.
Okay.
Yeah, it was made by Atari. No, wait, I think it might have been Midway. Excuse me. And it was just bizarre. There was two of them. There was Joust and Joust 2, and they were some seriously bizarre. What do you expect from a game, from the 80s?
Yeah, that time they had to be really abstract on what a game was.
They did and they didn't, because in the arcade, even at that time, the graphics were well above and beyond anything they were doing at home.
Oh yeah.
So, like Joust, yeah, I think people were just creating, when they were thinking video games, they were leaning heavily more into the game side of things. Like, oh, you could see this. It was kind of like an evolution of what carnival games were in like penny arcades back in like the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, where it was kind of like a video game, except not, because everything was physical in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and I'm not talking like pinball. I've seen some like arcade machines from like the 40s and 50s, and it's like, yeah, it's an actual game and you're doing something, but it's all physical and mechanical. And I still think
Yeah.
there was some of that mentality, because if you look at some of the big popular games in the early 80s, you had Pac-Man. Pretty simple of a concept. But you also started getting into some more fantastical ones, even in the arcade, like Centipede. You're supposed to be playing like a ship that's shooting giant centipedes in a mushroom forest. I mean, I can tell you what, though, back at that time, there were certain games when they came out in the arcades, and they were only in arcades for a long time, that really did make people go, what the hell is this? Was like Dragon's Lair. Because you had stuff with 80s graphics, Asteroids was using vector graphics, and Pac-Man was, everything was pretty simplistic sprites, or very, the graphics, while better than home consoles, were still simplistic at the time. And you have a full-blown Don Bluth animation right next to it.
It was really crazy having that kind of detail, but the controls were weird. It was like you needed to complete the animation, and if you don't, there's no chance for
The
error.
thing is I've learned this through emulating arcade games over the years, is there's definitely settings to games, and depending on the arcade you played it at, they would either be gentle to you in some cases, that you could say, or they could be like, we don't care, we want your fucking quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And like for the example of Dragon's Lair, the setting that could be tweaked was how much time did you have to react? Did you have to do it as immediately as you saw, or did it actually give you a little bit of a window to actually hit it?
Yeah, I know what you mean, man.
And there's also, like, every arcade game has settings like that. Like, I can tell you for sure, like, playing Mortal Kombat in my area, certain arcades, the game was easier.
I remember something about Punch Out being easier on some places.
Yeah, probably. There's probably some difficulty settings there. That game, as much as I remember as a kid and loved it as a kid, the arcade ones, the Nintendo one, the Super Nintendo one, the Wii one, I pretty much love that franchise. The arcade ones are hard to play emulated because of the way the screens were.
Mm-hmm.
That split screen with a weird aspect ratio. I mean, thankfully, the Raspberry Pi setup I have, it was already pre-set up. It was just an ISO I downloaded, and it make sure the aspect ratios are what they're supposed to be, even on like a flat screen panel.
Mhm.
It's so much harder to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it was. I still remember the arcades with two screens.
Yes,
For me, were.
I
Mhm.
one of the Darius games did that. And there's another game called Ninja Warriors. It's a scrolling hack and slash kind of arcade game. But I think we should wrap this up. We've been going
Yeah.
for about 2 hours.
But
Like
we need to do this again, man.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I got a few other people I kind of want to drag into doing this with us.
Nice.
I was talking to Foul Ball Productions a couple weeks ago. He got back to me. We want to start doing something as far as gaming goes. Tried getting Vigilante Williamson on tonight, but timing didn't work out. I got another buddy. There's other people I want to bring in on this, as guests and so on and so forth. But yeah, definitely have to do this again soon. Thank you for being on. Thank you for everybody who came and hung out in the chat for as long as you did. Christian, thank you for being the last man standing, it seems, at this point, which is fine by me. As long as somebody came, people came and hung out for a little while and liked what they heard. Pablo, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, Midnight Search Español. We're doing some crazy stuff there. And I found an interesting news that I want to do a video about there, because it seems like there's confirmation of Disney paying troll farms to attack their
I saw something on
own
that.
people. Yep. So let's see how much I can dig about that. And well, on Geek Tropology, I'll do something someday.
And as far as I'm going, if you like hearing my inane ramblings, you'll probably catch me tomorrow night on the MF or Cocktail Lounge. If Foul Ball does it tomorrow, you should be doing it, I'd imagine. And then on Sunday, I'm going to be on Brahma Bull's channel with Mark the Cyborg talking FromSoft and Dark Souls. That should be awesome. That should be a lot of fun. And then Monday, I'll be on that 70s rock fans channel talking glam rock. So I'm kind of busy the next few days.
Oh, glam rock. Interesting.
Yeah. And, if you're not subscribed to any of those people I just mentioned, make sure you do. Foul Ball Productions is great guy. Matt's awesome. Brahma Bull, cool dude. I've been gaming with him a little bit lately. Been a lot of fun. He's a great guy. And then Mark the Cyborg, if you love Souls content, other video game content, he's the man. And that 70s rock fan, what can I say?
He's great.
He's a great guy. He's pretty much somehow he shanghaied me into being one of his semi-regular, if nothing else, co-hosts. But it's fun talking. It's definitely fun talking music with him and Pope Metallicus. So anyways, thank you guys. Thank you for hanging out. We will be doing this again soon. This was kind of sort of a trial run, but expect to see this again soon. And thanks for hanging out.
Bye-bye.